Hi, everybody. This is Jessica Brell. Thank you for joining us in episode number 5 of Everyday Inspiring Women. I am so excited to introduce Lore Wainwright. She is a yogi out of London, Ontario, and I'll let her fill you more in on the bio, but it's really quickly on how we met. It was a really awesome experience. Like, I love the universe. A lot of interviews and a lot of my friendships I found have been really interesting. The universe working in mysterious ways. So a mutual friend of ours kind of put us in touch, and Lore was running a retreat in my area and was looking for someone to talk about nutrition, and we got in touch, and it was a couple weeks before I was running my first retreat. So it was really really good time, and it was an amazing experience with a lot of women on a yoga retreat. And it was my first experience with just a specific with yoga, and my first experience working with Lore. And it was like, how can I move to London so I can take more of your yoga classes, please? But I will let you jump in and fill in any blanks for your bio. Kind of tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
So I'm pumped about being on this with you, Jessica, because I think what we don't get a lot of time to do is reflect. So this actually puts me in a place of reflection. So I appreciate that. And so coming out of corporate Canada, 25 years with the big telephone company, I think I've always had at least 2 jobs at a time. So while I was working there, I was also teaching fitness at Good Life Fitness. And it's there where I think, I had always been a heavy kid, and I always thought, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Until I realized that teaching fitness was actually committing me to fitness. So that's kind of where I started that road. And, slowly but surely over the years, I think I've been now 22 years. I found yoga, and yoga's been probably the highlight. I still teach other things, but that really brings me home. And I also work for an amazing organization called Pillar Nonprofit Network, and I run a building called Innovation Works. It's a center for social innovators, and we have about 195 tenants here. And so I've been doing that for the last year or so. And the interesting thing is, just recently I've realized that, I was kind of thinking of them all independently. And I've realized now that there's actually quite a lot of intersection with why I'm where I am, and the different hats that I wear. And so, I'm enjoying them all for different reasons, but I'm bringing pretty much all of me to all of them. So there is a lot of intersection. So that's kind of where I'm at today, December something. So that's me.
Awesome. Oh, that's wonderful. That's really, I love hearing that. I think it's funny how, like, everything you do kind of leads you, like, those steps that you're taking in the moment, going, okay, like, you can look back and say, okay, that makes sense why I took those steps, because it brought me to where I am today, which is an awesome place. And so tell me, like, I'm curious about your story, like, you're a bit more of your backstory, going, also how you got today. So, like, what obstacles you had faced and adversities that you had faced, and how did you overcome them, or how are you still overcoming some of the stuff that kind of define parts of you?
Yeah, so the story of Lore, that's funny. I think, in my corporate life, and I was there for 25 years, so it's going to have an effect on me. And I think some of the main obstacles was really around leadership and relationships. And someone said to me once, it's not about the telephones, it's all about the relationships. And I think what I found was I had to face some pretty bad leaders. I've had to face some exceptional leaders. And it's at every obstacle where I now look back and I realize, wow, did I ever learn a lot about myself? In fact, I was asked the question recently, When you think of a good leader, what qualities do you think of? But then the question was, what were you like at that point in your life? So it's not just that they come to you with their qualities and their goodness and their authenticity and all the good stuff of leadership, but it actually made me reflect on, well, was I ready to receive at that point in my life? And I never really thought of it that way. So I think what came really clear soon was that was the gem. It was I ready to receive? And I think in every obstacle, that's where it came from. I remember a leader who probably put 3 or 4 of our team members, out of commission. They withdrew from the company, or they withdrew from working. And, I remember crying, bawling, I don't know if I can do this, and boy, where was I in that? Even the bad ones, I was ready to receive that. It hurt, but you kind of come up and pick it up. But I think one of my greatest obstacles was really every close relationship I have today probably reached a point where trust was questioned, sincerity, authenticity, all those things that we think are really good, caved in, or something went awry. And I think it didn't matter if I was in corporate Canada, if I was next to my husband, my daughter, my best friend. When that happened, those obstacles became one of 2 things. Either they left my life, or or it became stronger. And I think I still try to reconcile the ones that have left my life, because it's sad, right? Mm-hmm. But I think I'm better where I am because I realized that maybe we weren't ready to receive together. Yeah. And who knows where that's going to end up. But I think forgiving myself, knowing that at that point in time, I was doing the best that I could with the information I had. Mm-hmm. And I have to forgive myself for that and move forward. So long response. No. But I think, the obstacles have always come in the closest relationships, because that's the hardest.
They are the hardest. And that's where, like, all that trust building, like you said, where it's like they give trust and you give trust, and then always working on that and going, how do you learn to trust each other and still be vulnerable, and those sorts of things. I think I loved your point about being ready to receive that information from any type of leader. And I'm having these conversations with my kids right now, because they're like, this person did this and this person did this and this person did that, and it's like, where are you at when this is happening? And are you being a victim, or those sorts of things? So and people, like, bullies are bullies for sure, and not excusing it, but I'm trying to really work on them to saying, where are you in this thing? Mm-hmm. How can you not feel like a victim? How can you feel empowered in situations where you're not feeling that? So that's where that one hit me, but it was
it's an interesting, it's a shift of the way you think about that relationship or what happened then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's awesome. No, and that's a loaded question. Like, the first question I ask is really loaded, so it's usually the long one, and it's like juicy, lots of good stuff in there. So becoming, like, taking yoga for me, is the movement in the body, but it's that connection with your mind and your spirit. And I noticed that significantly when I was taking your class, and it kept bringing me into the present, and pushing me to think about things instead of going, I can't hold this pose, like, what other things can I be thinking about? And it kind of ties, for me, it makes me think about self-care. So how does someone who's a yogi, who is really not pushing, but like, inviting your team to think about things differently, how do you practice your own self-care so you can give to your students the way that you do?
Yeah, well, recently been walking. Had some injuries, so running is taking a back step, and so it does two things for me. I get my steps in. I'm a little bit obsessed, which I know I need to back off. Like yesterday, I forgot my watch and I thought, I walk. But I think what that did for me was because I listen to podcasts more. I connect with friends more. Usually it's early morning, so it's my early morning friends that I connect with. So it's allowed me, because it's usually like a good hour or two that I'm walking, so I get that piece. I also do walking meetings. I don't. I'm pretty sick of looking at a coffee cup in front of two people. I think walking meetings are phenomenal for so many reasons. First of all, and I like to do them outside if I can. The environment around you feeds you. So you're allowed to be a little more creative, a little more honest, and you're not looking at each other necessarily. You're looking in front of you. And it's funny because you're side by side. So the dynamic is a lot different than when you're face to face with someone. So I've found them extremely fruitful, extremely revealing, and it becomes more of a conversation. And if I really need to write something down, I just pull my phone out and I start, I type it. Or I summarize the meeting, because if I can remember 1, 2, 3 points, then it works. And that's what I do. I go, okay, right? And then I say, hold me to these. So I don't look to be the responsible one in this conversation. I share it. So, walking meetings have been really good. And I do practice my own yoga. I practice my own yoga outside of the place I teach, because I kind of want to be anonymous in the class. I just need it for myself. And I do that a lot. And, I think, and I do seek counseling. I do seek counseling a lot, actually, like formal counseling, because I can't always solve the problems. Sometimes I need the path shown to me. And so I highly recommend that if you're struggling, or if, things aren't just right, and you have access to a counselor or a coach or a guidance person, talk to them, because the most resilient people are the ones that ask for help. And so I try to be a model for my daughter like that. So yeah, those things help me a lot.
Oh, there's so much goodness in there. I love that. I can't help but think, I was just having this conversation with someone else the other day going, but I personally find like walking or running is a form of meditation in itself too, right? Because it's like the breathing and the movement and, and being in your mind too. So, but I love the idea of walking meetings. That is such a great idea. I have to do that.
Yeah, and I asked the person, right? I said, "Are you into a walking meeting?" Because that's what I'm doing. And they're like, "Oh, what a great idea!" Only once I've had someone say, "I'm injured, I can't really walk." I'm like, "Fine, that's cool."
Yeah.
But 99% of the time, they're all over it.
Definitely.
Let's do it, Jessica. Let's start the movement. I'm in.
Let's do it. # walking meetings. We can make this happen. I'm in. Love it. And again, the whole coach thing, having this conversation with someone else where it's like professionals at the top of their game have coaches. So like when they're already at the top of the game and they still have coaches, like why do we think we don't need them? Do you need a minute?
Yeah, sorry, someone's looking for me.
I'll pause it. 1 sec.
I'll be right back.
Okay, we're back. So we're talking about coaches, and it's like how important it is to get coaches at any stage that you're at. So yeah, of course, like when you're struggling, but sometimes it's like good to have a coach just to go, how do I get to this next level in my life? I want to change a job, or I want to, having a personal trainer to get to the next level of fitness, or a nutrition coach, or a wellness coach, or a mindset coach, like anything. It's so important. I agree. I couldn't agree with you any more than
worth their weight in gold. And what's really weird is sometimes they all come at once. So it's like a yoga instructor. It's like a yoga teacher. You have to, it's a relationship, and you'll connect or you won't. And so you got to find the right one, like you said, no matter, depending on what you're looking for, but also who they are and who you are.
Yes. Oh my God, totally. Because it's funny, on the opposite side, as a coach myself, sometimes we get caught up in this, there's 100 coaches out there, there's millions of coaches out there. And it's like, no, there's only one coach like me. There's only one, yoga instructor like you. And you will know that someone's the right fit. Like, so it's so important that there's a variety, because not everyone connects with everyone. And on the opposite side, it's like,
Right.
sometimes you meet someone and you're like, oh, yes, like when I met you, and I'm like, oh my God, I love Lori so much. It's like literally, how do I get to London more? And we were just kind of on the pause, had a brief discussion going, oh, we'll figure something out in the new year. I want to come, more, hang out. Oh, that's great. So more self-care you're doing. You do your own yoga practice. You do, walking meetings. That's amazing. How do you, if you have any types of, feelings of guilt, or, you're busy, so you work full time, and, you're a trainer, and you work for the nonprofit. You said, you have a daughter, and how do you then go, oh, I need to make time to do my yoga practice on top of teaching yoga, on top of everything else? Like, do you get feelings of guilt at all? And if you do, how do you deal with that?
I think I used to, but I don't anymore, because I do believe I'm kind of living that, like, I do a lot for others, and I know I do, and there's that, runway for me. I think I don't get guilty anymore as much. I think the only one that still puts the guilt on me is my mom, just because she lives alone, and she's in 2 hours away from me. So she's good at that. She's good at just stirring that piece up, but I think most people get that. And I just remember, like, I'm doing the best that I can. So I forgive myself. Living in guilt, if you're truly doing things that are meaningful and authentic, and trying to create an environment that is positive and impactful, there's nothing to be guilty about. So live your truth. Live your truth, and there will be nothing to be guilty about.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great. I like that. I will be taking it.
You do it too, Jessica. I know you do.
It's hard sometimes, I get caught in it going, oh, I should be, I hate that word. The more I am on this, self-development path, the more words start to trigger me, and should never bothered me before. And now it's like, every time I hear it come out of my mouth, I'm like, oh, it's like I cringe, and I'm like, no, stop saying
that. Yeah. Well, and, we have to hold ourselves accountable for that too, right? And like you said, like a coach or a mate or a best friend, or like I had a friend that just could not take a compliment. She just and I say this all the time, like, if I say to you, geez, Jessica, you look great today. I love the way you have your hair. Does it sound different? And when you're a person that just goes, oh, this thing, you're deflecting the value of the human that just provided you this gift of a compliment.
Yeah.
I don't think people want to do that, and yet they do. And so you never have the opportunity to absorb the good, because the bad's going to come. So take the good, and so saying thank you is the practice. And you'll start feeling a lot less guilty when you start seeing the value by accepting things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. I feel like you talked about this at the retreat too, saying, like, this is a gift I'm giving you, and you're like, throw your gift in the garbage.
Yeah, we don't do that, right? So why would we do that with kind words? We got crap in the world, right? Like, take it.
Totally. And I feel too like most people don't just say things they don't mean like that. Like they're saying it because they genuinely mean it, and they're genuinely trying to say something kind from their heart. And it's like, and they're like, ugh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I catch people not taking compliments, I will call them out. Not in a loving, kind way, of course, but I will call them out, because it's like, say thank you. Just stop and take it.
Yeah.
Take it like a woman. Say thank you. Oh, awesome. I have this thing about themes in my own personal life. Like certain themes are always coming up, and it's funny. It was funny because it's from like Brene Brown kind of like tuned me into seeing this was happening, because she especially in her last book, not her last book, her second last book, like Rising Strong, she was saying a theme she kept bumping up against something, a theme that kept reoccurring in her life until she figured out how to work through it. So I was just curious if you notice any themes that are coming up for you right now, or something that you're working towards in your life specifically.
I think just for me it's path coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to define who I am and where I fit in all of these buckets. The theme for me has been a path. So no matter what hat I'm wearing, whether it's I'm a mother, a daughter, a social innovator, a yoga instructor, a communicator, I think there's this path that comes in front of me personally, but also that's what I reflect out in the world. And, it's this path back to you. It's this path to loving within, to finding the answers within. So it's been a path. And, learning is part of that. So, create an environment where I learn. And so in everything I do, I usually preamble, whether they like it or not, something around a theme, like, love or compassion or a body part or, the history of the building that I'm in. So we ground in learning, because shared learning is very, very powerful. Mm-hmm. And then as we do that, kind of observe how we're at in that place in learning. Am I ready to receive this? Is this sitting with me? Yes or no? And then, maybe I'm not, maybe this path isn't quite the rhythm I need to be at. Maybe I need to speed up. Maybe I need to slow down. Or, what kind of pace is this path taking me at? And am I comfortable with it? And I think, on the path, it's whatever I'm doing on the path, decide right then and there that it will be the most exceptional XYZ that I'm going to do, whether it's yoga in presentation, commitment. It's going to be exceptional execution.
Mm-hmm.
Because I learned about it, I observed it, I decided what rhythm, what speed I was going to go at, and now it's going to be the best whatever I'm going to do. So this path has become really, honestly, Jessica, probably just in the past 3 weeks, it's become really, really clear to me that that's the theme. So thanks for asking that question.
Yes. Oh, I love that answer. It's profound too, and I love the timing. Of course, is just sounds like it's perfect too. So that's exciting. Oh, yeah. Really good, Lori. So if anybody wanted to connect with you, how would they do that? Like, how would they get in touch with you, London or otherwise? And tell us what you're doing in the new year.
Yeah, so I love LinkedIn. I've been a lot friendlier joining groups and posting articles there. Facebook is always a great place to find me. And I'll be launching a website in the new year, so I'm excited about that, because I had to figure out who I was first, right, before all that came about. And then I have a retreat coming up in Portugal, so it's my first off of Canada retreat, July 13th to the 19th, so it's 6 days. yoga, and a couple of days free time. So it's in the mountains in Portugal. So I'm excited about that. And
Sounds
then
terrible.
Yeah, I know. And then in September, we're back at Oxley for a ladies retreat there. Yeah, on the Lake Huron. It's just gorgeous. And then I'll probably be doing a one-day retreat in London on the chakra healing, open to the public. So not at Good Life, but on my own here.
Awesome. I'll have to make that one. You went through some of the chakras in the retreat that I attended, and yeah, I'll definitely book that one in my calendar.
Yeah, I'll let you know when. Yep.
Awesome.
It'll probably be just a one-day thing. So yeah.
That's perfect.
Good. We get to see again.
Yay. I'll add your contact information in the information in the video, so that if people want to get in touch with you, they'll be able to link right through that. And then when you get your website up and running, send it to me, because I can always add it to the notes afterwards.
That would be great.
Yeah, awesome. So my last question, and I forgot to mention that I was going to talk about this, but do you have one, for me, personal development book? So it's hard to narrow it down. I think it's hard to narrow it down. But if you can think of just one book or one piece of personal development that is your favorite, or you keep coming back to, or had major shifts for you, what do you think that would be?
Well, you mentioned Brene Brown, and she's my recent one, and I got a girl crush on that. But I think and again, this is something that just has kind of come up to me recently. I think one of the things that I've always pulled myself back to is servant leadership. So there's a book, The Servant Leader, and it keeps coming up in my life. Like, it keeps coming up in ways that are peculiar. But I always, I think I've always come back to this idea that we are here to serve. If we can lead with our hearts more through compassion and understanding, and less with the logical head, we will be serving. We will be leaders moving others forward. I think the best thing, the most incredible gift we can give to anyone, into our lives, into our children, is to show others that they are capable. They have the will. They have the power. They. So deflecting off of self and reflecting and illuminating others through servant leadership, or you can call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
But put others first. It's amazing what your perspective does when you do that, and the impact and the beauty that comes out of that philosophy has served me incredibly well. So yeah, The Servant Leader.
I like that.
I can't remember who wrote it, but I remember every chapter was a different aspect of it, and a leader of mine taught me that. So
yeah, that's awesome. I've heard of that book, so I'll find it and I'll add that book to the notes too then.
That'd be great.
That was beautiful. That was awesome. Now I want to read it. I'm a huge personal development. I love books, so I'll find that one. I have a credit on Audible right now, so there we go. I've been looking for a way to spend it.
So I'm going to challenge you, because I'll reread it, because I haven't read it in many, many years, but something's coming up. I think it's time.
Sounds like it. Yeah. Good. Awesome. Thank you so much, Lori. This was awesome. You filled my cup up this morning. Like, this is my my self-care, is talking to amazing women, and I love it so much. And I call it Everyday Inspiring Women, because it's like we're here, we're just living our lives, but we're just doing those little extra things for ourselves and for other people, and I love it so much. Thank you so much
for the opportunity and letting me reflect. I really appreciate it. And you're awesome.
You're so kind.
So cool. This is so cool.
It is.
Very inspiring. It has me thinking a lot. So whatever you did, you provoked some goodness. So thank you.
You're so welcome. Have an awesome day. We'll be in touch.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, Lori.
All
Take
right.
care.
Bye.
Bye.